So welcome to the Web App Builder session. My name is David Martinez. I'm a product manager on our developer technologies. That's my colleague here, Jinshaw Song. So she's a product manager for Web App Builder. So if you guys have any feedback on that product, I would direct those questions or enhancements requests to her. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys are using Web App Builder today? Okay. You guys pretty familiar with it? Somewhat? Okay. Just setting some context here. So this is a beginner session, and I like to just point that out. So there's some other advanced sessions as well. It still seems like some people haven't been exposed to us, so that's good. For those who might have used it, this might be a little repetitive to you, but you might learn something new, okay? Because I'll try and make it as interesting as possible to cover all spectrums of it. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to do a product overview, right? For those who don't know what Web App Builder is. We're going to do a tour of Web App Builder from a 2D and a 3D perspective. We're going to talk about some customization options, okay? Not going to go into too much code. I can show you guys some stuff if you know, because we have some more advanced sections to dive deeper into that. And then we're going to talk about templates. A lot of people have always asked me, okay, well, you know, how do I share information with, you know, other people throughout my organization, right? Whether it's a widget, whether it's some theme that you created, or maybe it's some theme that you inherited, right? You always want to share with that. And then the last is, where do you go for help, right? Because we don't always know the answers. And one great thing about the community, specifically for Web App Builders, people are always willing to help. So you've probably seen this slide many, many times, but when we think of Web App Builder, it all focuses around this thing that what we call WebGIS, right? So WebGIS is online and enterprise, right? And what it allows you to do is it allows you to share content at a more mass scale as opposed to sharing something independently on your desktop. And you can deploy it in two different fashions, right? So you can have Web App Builder on-premise or in the cloud. Totally up to you. Secure environment and not, you guys can totally control that. And the great thing about it is it's a web app and it can run on any device. And I always like to state this, it's great not to write code, but sometimes you gotta write code, let's face it. Not everything works out of the box. You might need something, workflow that meets your specific need. But one thing that's great about Web App Builder is it deploys rapidly. And I like to think of it as let's say, I'm sure you guys all has a requirement. Your boss comes in or you're responding to some event and you need an app quick, right? I think the last thing that you want to do is probably open an API and build an app that's maybe going to only be good for a week or so, right? So think of a disastrous event. One thing Web App Builder is really good for as well is think of disposable apps, getting an app up quickly, right? You have some data you prepped, you have some layers, you want to publish an app. We can do that really quickly with Web App Builder. And the good news is about it, you're not going to have to put any code into it unless you have to, right? And let's say you do have some requirement where you do have to expand it, there's an extensibility model for that. So as of today, there's tons of different tools within a Web App Builder. So there's two different ways to think about this. So we have widgets, right? So think of widgets as your worker bees, right? You're performing a widget, it's going to do some specific workflow. And then also too is what does your app look like, right? What is the app? Think of it as your brand. You know, where's your placement of your view padding, your icons, your placements on the widgets. And this is where themes come into play, right? We don't all want the same app to look the same. Maybe you have certain branding guidelines that your organization follows. This is where themes comes into play. And both of these are completely extendable. And another thing about Web App Builder, it's truly, as of today, I believe it's the only 2D and 3D app that we have that you can use in those different environments. So you have 2D, right, for your data sets, and there's always a 3D as well. How many people are using 3D today? Anyone using 3D data yet? A couple? All right, I'll have some questions after, just curious why now it's moving to 3D, but 2D is great as well, but you're gonna see a lot more emphasis on 3D as well, specifically in the tool sets of Web App Builder. And when you think of Web App Builder, we have an extensibility framework, right? And so what do we mean by that is sometimes you have requirements, and those requirements are, you know, you have to extend what's beyond the WYSIWYG, right? What you see is what you get. And the beauty behind it is we have this rich SDK, which is called GIMU library, And basically, Jimyu in Chinese means Legos. I learned that. And so we built this whole framework around it. So think of it as building blocks, right? So you can take components from that, and you could rapidly develop tools and solutions from that. So we have a framework around that allows you to extend it, right? So if we inherit from the JavaScript API, okay, so Web App Builder as of today is built on 2 versions of our JavaScript API. So when you build a 2D app, okay, that's using 3x API. When you build a 3D app, it's building 4x API. And you're probably thinking, oh, why do you have 2 different APIs? I know, there's completely, one's got a view model, one's just got the map. And the reason being is, we still got to support our existing users. We're not at parity yet with our 3x API and 4x, but once we do, we'll clip off 3x and we'll go completely 4x. This probably end of this year.
For Developer Edition.
Developer Edition.
Not online version.
Right. Developer Edition will be at that 4x.
Beta version.
Beta version, right. So what that means is we'll have one SDK, which will be able to do 2D and 3D on one, right? Because if you create a 2D app, that's on 3x API, and if you create a 3D app as of today, it's on 4x API. Just like to throw it out there. And as part of that Jimyu library, you get access to our digits, right? Which we call from our JavaScript API. We enhance those. Those become enhanced in specific themes and part of specific workflows. And then we have access to all the methods that exist as part of that. And then what we bring there is we develop these core widgets of that, okay? And all this is available within Web App Builder for you you can extend, as well as follow as particular guidelines of how we intertwines of how we make those work. All right, so just a little history from the Web App Builder perspective. So it's been around since 2014. We released it with Portal for ArcGIS in 10.3. It's a WYSIWYG experience, right? If you're on the online side of it, right? So if you're looking at Web App Builder from online, you can't extend it, right? It's WYSIWYG. But that's where the Developer Edition comes in handy, right? You can take that experience and enhance that. And it's fully integrated into ArcGIS platform, right? So if you create an application and then the map viewer and you want to share it, you can have access to it directly Web App Builder. And also too, another great thing about Web App Builder, it's responsive. And what I mean by that is, nowadays when we go to a web application on our computer and we look at that application on our phone, I think we're all become accustomed to expecting the same user experience on our device as well on our phone. So Web App Builder has a responsive framework built into it. If you build an app for the web, you're going to get the same experience on mobile, right? We dock panels, we lock everything, we take usage as well as the screen size, right? And it's built completely on the JavaScript API and HTML5, and it's extensible. So there's 2 options today to work with Web App Builder. The first is ArcGIS Online, okay? If you have ArcGIS Online work description, it's part of that. And also too, it's also part of Portal, okay? So you activate it from the map viewer or My Contents to create an app from there. The one more powerful one, in my opinion, because I'm a developer, is the Developer Edition, because you have full keys to the kingdom. It's a separate download. You install it locally on your system. You still sign into your org to authorize that machine to install for Web App Builder, to authorize through that portal or that instance of ArcGIS Online. But then that's where you start to unlock the power, right? You get to do these custom widgets. You get to do some custom themes. And we'll do an example of how we find a theme, a custom widget, and then we can bring it into Web App Builder. And all of this, it offers the same builder user experience and the same capabilities throughout all of them. So it's not like you lose one from another. The only thing you lose is the extensibility part if you're going from Developer Edition to online. That's the only thing you use. It's the same experience throughout. And if you're interested, there's tons of different user sites that people are creating with our Web App Builder. In fact, it is so popular that as of earlier this week, we have a running count of the apps created with Web App Builder. And I just rounded it. It was roughly 324,119. So a lot of people are creating apps from this. So if we look at this graph here, so 36% are these private, 34% are public, 14% are shared. and 15% have an account. So you can see there's a mix of both, right? People, they're not sharing their apps, they're maybe using internal, some are using it within a group, and then some are for public consumption. But by far, I believe out of all our builders and our templates, it's by far the most popular one that people are creating apps from. And where do you go for help, right? Because we can't also possibly know all the questions to anything regarding not only technology, but day-to-day workflows. So I would say Web App Builder, if you're not familiar with GeoNet, if you're not a member of the community, I would strongly encourage you to join. Web App Builder, the custom widgets thing, and this one's sorted by most followers. It's the second one. And then Web App Builder for ArcGIS, I believe, is the 7th one down. So it's a very popular group on GeoNet. And there's this guy out there named Robert Scheitlin. He's always asking questions. He's part of the community. So you ever have a question on Web App Builder? That guy's going to answer your question before us. I don't know how he does it, because I know he has a day job, but he takes the liberty to answer all the questions, which is great. So please, there's no stupid question, right? If you need help, go out there and ask. It's there available. So it's pretty simple to create an app. Like I said before, when you create your first app, it's either going to be a 2D or 3D experience, okay? So there's basically a couple steps. So one is you create your new app, you pick a style, you select a map, right? Or a scene, which is 3D. You add some widgets, you configure some attributes, and then you preview and launch, right? Pretty simple, right? 6 steps, and you're ready to go. So to demonstrate something of this, let's turn it over to my colleague to give you a quick tour of Web App Builder. Jinsha?
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. So basically, Dave talking about Web App Builder is available in ArcGIS Online and the portal and the developer edition. Now, this is the one map I author in online, right? This basically shows the building damage assessment during the Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. So the red one means the building has been destroyed completely. Orange means preserved. The green one is good. So now I'm going to take this map into Web App Builder. Go to the share, create a web app, options, Web App Builder. So give a title, Palm Spring, get started. Now we are in the builder environment. On the left side panel is the Scene Map widget attributes, is builder experience, right? On the right side here is the viewer experience. So Web App Builder is what you see is what you get. So if you, for example, I change the color, you will see immediately on the right panel, the title, the bar color has been changed. This is the theme. I chose different color, for example, green one, they change it as well, right? So now go to the map. I think this map right now is good. I'm not going to change, but you have chance to add it or create a new one or choose one from your organization as well. The widget part, by default, they have a layer list, legend right here. You can see them. I'm going to add one more. The most important thing is print, right? We want to print the map out. Leave everything as default. Oh, here I want to have a legend, not just map only. Next thing I want to add is the base map. So they take the base map asset in the organization to the gallery. So now I think it's good. Let's see the print. PDF, maybe JPEG. Change it. Print. So they call the online printing services. Immediately we will get printed map and the legend. take a look here. That's the output. So it's simple, right? To print something from the web is very simple. Now I take a look at, change the base map. Maybe I don't like this base map. I can change the dark gray. The layer list looks fine, right? So I save it. So we add functionality into the app. The last part we want to do is branding. The name here, I want to maybe give a size, maybe a little bit bigger. This subtitle, I don't like it. Remove it. Maybe I want to add my organization link website. For example, here, maybe I can add red cross organization there, maybe HP red cross, because this might be for the rescue effort. Then here. See, my link is right here. Take a look. Bring me to the Red Cross organization. Still loading. So let's go back, you get idea, right? So see, everything looks fine. Last step, I'm going to preview because we're saying the apps run on any devices, right? That means we can run on pad. This red cross already bring it in, so let's kill it. So this is how the app looks like on the pad, right? We go to the base map gallery. It's the same, right? It works fine. Let's go back to another one, maybe iPhone 5. Take a look. Base map gallery here. See, it's changed the base map gallery. Looks fine, right? So on the phone experience is fine. On the different vertical stuff is good. So they're basically saying my app is ready for deployment. You may ask and say, maybe my phone, size of my phone is not listed here. A different size, no problem. You cannot find your phone here. You can customize it here. Say, I want to have my phone width is 500. Another height is 800. Then we resize the screen so that you can get a feel how your app going to run on your devices. So everything looks good. Let's just launch. So you can embed this URL in your website, or just share, social sharing, or you can send email to your coworker. So check this out. They can check this app out on any devices, right? This should. I'm wondering. Yeah, let's refresh a little bit. So you see the icon here, right? The legend shows up here. Printing. That's just testing against. So everything should be fine. So basically, very simple. 5 minutes, right? Less than 5 minutes, we can build an app, web app running on any devices. Is that cool? Oh, plus. So, why I'm saying that? Because I used to be product engineer on Web Builder. 5 years ago, we built this product from ground zero. So I'm really, really happy to see you guys here to help you just in 5 minutes build something that is possible at your finger. So we talk about this one. Next thing is, currently for 2D app, we have widgets, right? More than 50 widgets out of box you can use, right? I just go to the print, you can have about widget to introduce the app. You can have so many functionality there. They just configure experience. You don't need write anything. For the 2D widgets, we have a foundation widgets basically that provide core capability of mapping like navigation, filter, query, search, printing, attribute table, add data on the fly. Meanwhile, we also have other solution widgets. You can go to solutions showcase there to see. Another thing is 3D, right? For 3D, we have two types of 3D representation. One is real-world representation. Another is data animation. What that mean? Data animation, you don't need 3D layer. You only need 2D feature services to be added in 3D that you can see the animation like someone like this. So I think they will demonstrate how to do that later on. Basically saying, don't be scared by 3D application. You can add we are very familiar 2D feature services into 3D environment. We can build 3D app as well. So we talk about the widgets. That's the functionality. Next thing is look and feel of the app. Right, they mentioned that. So we provide 9 themes you can choose and pick from to meet what you need. The most popular one, I think, is this dashboard theme because it allows you to design your layout by dragging and dropping. And you can build very focused app, map-focused app. You also can build tool-focused app. So check it out. Today I don't have a lot of time talking about that, but after this session we have what's new in demo theater. I will talk details about this dashboard thing. Back to David.
Okay, great. Can you
go to the screen?
Yeah, fine. Okay, so Jinshaw talked about 3D, right? So 3D from a real life scenario with data, with like Z values, right? Or 2D features that you can animate with that. So let's go through some examples of what we mean by that. So let's just sign into ArcGIS Online. Actually, let's go here. Okay, let's just go here. So here we have a scene, and this scene here contains data of where everyone came from to come to this conference, right? So, all right, you just a bunch of points on the map. There's no animation here, right? Nothing cool, right? It's flat, right? So how do we show where everyone's coming in, right? Like kind of like I don't know if you guys ever did like a flow map. So what we can do is there's this widget that exists, and so let's just go back here, and let's go to my content here. And let's go through creating a 3D app that takes those data sets and gives it some animation. So let's click on here, and let's create a web app using Web App Builder. We'll just inherit those tags. That's great. All right. So this goes through the process. It's grabbing a web map, which makes up all the layers of it, reads that JSON coming in, brings it to this environment. As Jinshaw showed, there's a default theme here. I can say, all right, maybe let's go with, actually, let's use the Dart theme, right? So you changes the theme, look and feel. You could totally brand these, right? Not in this part, but in the developer edition. All right, so here we have our Dev Summit 18, and what we want to do is we want to add some effects to those points to show everyone's coming in Palm Springs, all right? So we're going to go into our Dart controller. So think of that as your master controller of where the placement of the widgets are for this picture or theme. We're going to go ahead and hit this plus button, and we're going to add this widget called 3DFX, right? And then basically what we're going to do is there's a couple different options here. We're going to do jet trail here, and we're going to select 2, which is the conference, we're going to change this to automatically change. Right? We're going to give this an interval of 5,000, and we're just going to give this a destination field for visualization. Let's hit OK. I'm going to add another one to show, because you have to go home, right, after this conference. So I'm going to show you guys going back to your towns. So we're going to take that same 3DFX widget here. We'll still use Jet Trail. We'll use the return. Let's keep the same interval on seconds, automatically change colors, add a visualization field, hit OK. All right, so let's see. All right, so this is coming. You know what, let's save this. Let's hit play. Let's spin this up, okay? So this is grabbing all that information, which are those lines coming in to it. Hopefully this internet's pretty quick. But what we should get is where everyone's coming from internationally and domestic into Palm Springs. So as long as my internet's quick, it should work. So there we go, right? So this is everyone coming internationally, so we're all converging in Palm Springs right here. Nice little visualization effect, just taking data right from there. All right, so that's using 3DFX. And you eventually have to go home right after the conference. Sorry, I know it's warm here, but you got to go. So same thing, spinning up, caching that data. It's going to do the same process, but it's going to do a reverse on it. So our destination is, XY is going to be here, and then we're going to send you back out to where you came from. So yeah, my internet's slow, but same way, just cool different way to think about. So there we go. So there, everyone's going back home now, right? So interesting way to look at that in that fashion, right? Taking that data. And then I didn't have time to wire it up, but I was going to do all the counts of the different countries here, but I didn't have time to do that aggregation. But you could totally do that with it. Another option to create, I have the demo here, is to take real live data into effects, right? And you could do like shadows, you can do other things when you bring in real live 3D data. So here we have data for Montreal, right? What we can do with this is to give a realistic effect, like let's say you're planning 3D structures and you want to look at environmental impacts. You can add this widget called daylight, right? And basically daylight, you could take the local GMT time of that, and this one happens to be in Montreal, which is GMT -4, and we could start looking at real life visualization effects of how that data changes based upon the time of day there, right? So it gives you that real life effect. So the ability to take scene layers into 3D in a simple, I would say simple application to create a quick application to deploy and bring some real life characteristics into it is pretty cool, because you can bring that real life experience to that. So that's looking at it from a 3D perspective, okay? So customization, right? Because that's probably why we're here at Dev Summit. So there's 2 tiers of customization, right? The first one is if you can add widgets to your environment. You don't have to be a developer, right? But at some point, you're going to want to extend it, so it's always good to learn, right? That's the best way we learn, right? I don't know if you've taken courses on coding or something, but I think the best way to learn is when you have some problem you got to fix and you got to figure it out, right? That's how you learn. Another part is the extensibility of customizing, a particular widget or creating a widget from scratch, right? So that brings in the programmer hat into play. That's another option from it. And that's where you download Web App Builder, right, for Developer Edition. That's going to run on your local machine, right? As I said before, completely Extensibility Framework. It leverages our JavaScript API, and you can create web apps, right? And you can share those functions, those tools, those themes with other people, or you could just keep them to yourself and share them with your organization. So it's pretty simple. Once you download Web App Builder, you just got to register this Web App Builder ID, which basically says, hey, this machine here is authorized to use this Web App Builder edition with my portal or my organization. You could set up multiple machines that use the same app ID. It just needs to be authenticated against it if you haven't set that up. And there's also tons of other custom widgets that other teams around Esri are building. So we have solutions widgets that our team is building from the solution side of, and then we have individuals who focus on the raster side of things. So think of imagery. Tons of different widgets out there that you could just easily just copy, put it in your environment, and they're up and running, because everything extends from this thing called this base widget class. So everyone has to abide by that for web app builder to recognize, oh, I got a new widget, okay, let me do that. Instantiates and all that. So everyone follows these guidelines, so it makes it easy to deploy and share these widgets. And then there's also widgets that are shared out by the community, right? We'll do an example of that just to show you. And so you're probably thinking, okay, so what does this web app builder look like from a component, right? So when we're showing you the builder, right, grabbing a theme, grabbing a widget, that's the GUI builder, okay? So the GUI builder, which is grabbing that, making that up. And then from there, we have widgets and themes of that GUI builder. And then we have this master app, which is called a STEM app, right? And then we have one instance of these, and it reads all these web maps of this JSON, and it makes that render, you know, in your browser. And then what we do is we take those widgets and themes and that STEM app, and we create a web app with the config files, which basically read all the configurations that make up that file, what loads, what widgets open first, what the theme looks like, where the layout, where the panel is, all that, and then what you have is a web app, right, based upon that. And as a developer, when you're looking at extending Web App Builder, if you look at it from a widget perspective, so you have to have some HTML and JavaScript experience. Some CSS is nice, you know, think of, so HTML is going to be your view, right, what that looks like. Your JavaScript is going to be your logic. CSS will, you know, define, you know, what that looks like as well. And then the widgets can perform a specific task. That's when your JavaScript comes into play. And then, you know, if that widget has configuration parameters, you know, like when we're configuring a widget, it's going to set in this config JSON files. And then we have things for localization. So let's say you have an organization that needs to communicate in Spanish or, you know, Chinese or whatever. We have localization language to do that. And then the builder configuration UI as well, right? So if you're going to share your widget, you're going to say, okay, I want the user to configure the widgets, you got to provide that UI for that. So it sets the configurations of those settings for that user. And then if you're going to do a theme, you're going to see a common pattern here. Still need HTML, JavaScript, and some CSS, I would say more with a theme. You're going to have to deal with the layout. So think of the layout positions, right? Widgets, where do they go on placement? How much padding you're taking? How much map do you have? Do you have a drawer come out for the theme, whatever? And then the widget panel and behavior, right? So each theme has some of them had a header controller, how it places widgets on the screen. And then the style, what is the color of the theme? You can certainly do that. And then sometimes themes have a default widget, which makes it part of it. You're responsible for that. You don't have to have one, but you could build one as part of that theme. And then another aspect of it is you can also use these developer edition templates, right? So these are templates that contain a pre-selection of widgets, right? And you can remove and add widgets as you like, and then you can create your own template from there, so you can deploy to someone to consume that template and then call their web map and put it in that template, and you have an app from there. Okay. So let's show you an example. Well, let's go into this first, and we'll come back to that. So another aspect of it that we just released last year is the ability to do custom widgets in ArcGIS Enterprise, right? So you could develop your own custom widgets with the developer edition. You can also buy widgets from the ArcGIS marketplace. You can host your own custom widgets in your web server, and then you can register them within your enterprise. Of course, you can share them with the group, keep it private, or share it with everyone. And you bring that custom widget into your own web app builder apps, right? And one thing I like to note, it requires a level 2 named user, okay? So to show you how that works is, let's go back here. So basically you add an item from your application, you select the application extension web app builder, right? This one we're doing elevation profile, we give it a tag, we add the item, okay? We share, because we want to share it within the org. We're sharing it with everyone in the group, the data store. Here we have our Elevation Pro App Builder extension. We select widget, we zoom in, we go to our custom, we select elevation profile, hit OK, and there's our elevation profile widget within an enterprise environment, right? So then we give people the power to deploy that within their enterprise, okay? Another example of, I'll go to an example to take that same elevation one, but show you on a custom build. So when you're thinking about version capability, we're always asking questions like, okay, so I always hear this, like, what version of the JavaScript API are you on in relation to Portal or Developer Edition? So what this is a version compatibility table that shows you the version of the web app builder in retrospect to Portal, Online, and Developer Edition. And then you can see what JS API version we have, so you can always be in sync with that, right? I would say, if you're always on your most current release of, web app builder and you're updating your apps, you're not going to have any problems, moving. But if you had an old web app builder of like 1.3.2, and they're trying to do our latest one, there's going to be some problems because we changed a couple different things, right? Your app might load. But always look at this, a compatibility thing, if you're going to start extending stuff. So let me show you an example of taking a widget. So here's a widget elevation profile that someone published on the GeoNet community, right? So they follow the guidelines of extending the base widget class. It's contained in a zip, okay? I already grabbed it. I downloaded it here. I extracted it. So basically I can go in here and look in here and say, okay, elevation profile, it's got all the stuff I need. So I'm going to just grab this, copy it. I'm going to paste it into Web App Builder here. Let's see, Web App Builder. I got a couple versions, so bear with me. 2.7. Go to Client, right? So Client, and we have two. So this is where we have STEM apps, right? So for 2D, we have STEM app. 3D, we have for 3D. So we'll go to STEM app for 2D. Go to Widgets. I'm going to hit Paste. If I go to Web App Builder, it's going to recognize, for this node processor, it's inserting HTML elevation profile. So it's registering a widget, right? So I'm going to go back into my Web App Builder instance. I'm going to go into create a new application here. So let's just go ahead and create new. Let's just call this Dev Summit 2018. This is creating all the necessary files that are going to make up that. Once your app's ready from the developer edition, you can grab that app, all the sources files, and just deploy it on your web server and get ready to go. So go to Widget, select the header controller, go plus here, and there's an elevation profile widget, right? So this right here, this individual developer developed all this UI for me to configure this widget. This all gets set. Like if I went and I changed these chart types, these get set in this JSON file, right? All right, so let's hit OK. Let's go into Denver because I know Denver's got some great elevation. OK. All right, and then if we just grab this widget here, hit the measure tool. Let's just go from Denver to here, front range right there. Right, so this, my mouse is clicking too quick, but anyhow, it would give me an elevation profile, right? But that's an easy way where you can grab someone's work that already created something and really bring it into an environment without any code, right? And you have full capability to extend that because you have access to the code, right? And that's the beauty of sharing that information. There we go. So there's a process running, runs to a geoprocessing service. It's going to measure the terrain and give you a nice good chart of that. Okay. So let's go back to my deck here. So the next thing I want to talk about is templates, right? So a lot of people always come to me, okay, I created a theme, I created a builder, I created a theme and I created a widget, and I want to share that, right? Well, we don't allow you to inject code back into ArcGIS Online. It's your responsibility to host that, right, if you're going to share it. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can share a template directly from ArcGIS Online with other individuals throughout your organization. It's the same step. It shows up in the carousel of all the apps, They have a web map. They pick your template, right? That template, if you extended Web App Builder, it's going to point to your dedicated machine to read the web map, what makes it up, and it's going to load it in your environment, right? But you're responsible for hosting that template, okay? And I can show you a process of that. And then from that, you can define, certain configurable attribution parameters of what you want the user to configure. Oh, do I want them to change the icon? Do I want them to change the title? You can lock it down. So let me show you an example of that real quick. All right, so let's go to Web App Builder. And let's see. Let's pick, all right, so let's say we have, all right, so let's pick this one right here. So this is a custom theme that exists, right, on my machine, and basically it finds breweries for some reason. I don't know why, but so I click on a map right here, and it uses the nearby meat widget, right? But this custom widget, how much padding I have for the map, this drawer slide out, this placement of this sidebar controller. So let's say I wanted to share this, right? Because I have these rounded edges here and all this. Let's say, I want to share this theme with my organization. So what you could do is export as template, right? And then you could start defining app parameters, what you want to be able to do. You can remove, you can, all these different things. Well, let's say we're ready to go. And I can say, all right, I want to export this to my local organization. And I could say, all right, this is Dev Summit, Dev Brew, let's just do this. Okay, hit okay. All right, so this exported as web map template successfully. Click here to see items detailed, right? So I go here. Now this is an item published in my org. I hit view application here. Right. You see how it's coming back. That's my local machine because I'm responsible for hosting that template, right? So your web server will be hosting that. So when someone goes to create an application, so let's look for a web map here. Let's go to breweries just to show you real quick. So I'm ready. I'm looking for, I want a web map here. All right, so let's pick this one. All right, so pick this. You shared your template with anyone with organization. They have this web map, which has a custom vector tile here. My Apple mouse is going crazy. Hit share, create a web app here. It's probably on the last one. Here we go, right? Create web app, hit done. And what we did is we took a custom theme from my local developer edition, and we're using it on my ArcGIS Online org, right? We're calling a web map from ArcGIS Online, and we're basically taking that theme and applying it to my web map. So there you go, right? All within ArcGIS Online, right? Sharing your work, okay? It's an example of exporting a template. Okay. All right, so community and resources, right? So I always like to emphasize there's 3 places for Web App Builder user community. One is Web App Builder for ArcGIS. If you're looking for functionality that people are sharing amongst the community, I would say go to the Web App Builder custom widgets. Another one for if you're looking for custom themes is the Web App Builder for custom themes. All are very active, and all of them are from top contributors posting these forums. So please, if you have questions, you want to talk to us as well, maybe you want a feature enhancement or anything, post in there and someone will respond to it. This is an example of someone who's from the community, Rebecca. She creates and owns this information. She's always publishing resources relevant to Web App Builder. So she's compiling this list and always sharing information about that, whether it's sessions, whether about webinars, whether it's about news release or new widgets that she sees. She's always posting stuff. And please, always give us feedback. We're always trying to improve this session. Plus, we got to get good scores because both of us got to get some new shoes. So rate this session high. We appreciate that. But no, seriously, give us some feedback. Whether it's good or bad, there's always room for improvement. And let us know what you think about this session. And what we like to do now is just open it up for questions. If anyone wants to ask questions, we can take them right here, or if you want to come up, certainly do that. Yes?
Yeah, it's
The question is whether do we have any plan to support custom widgets in ArcGIS Online?
Yeah.
The answer is no. Because we know the custom widget is the JavaScript code, the third-party code. So online, want to make sure the security is there, so we cannot host the third-party code there. But if you have your own portal, your admin, then it's your responsibility. So it's not technical problem, it's the security issue. But we're still trying to figure out a way to support, but right now we don't have a plan.
You could deploy a custom widget through ArcGIS Online. You would just be responsible for hosting it on your own web server.
No, you cannot.
Well, in the template?
No, you cannot.
You can't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
See? Thought you could.
No. Sorry. That's the team. If you're in the plenary today, start talking about a lot of things. That's the decision. So, okay.
So if I did.
Maybe it's related to the security issue, but I had a question on the client who wanted to filter in a 3D scene, and I noticed the widget wasn't available for filtering or querying. Is that for security?
No,
What is my option?
to do the filter capability the same as 2D. Okay, so the gentleman's questions, they want to have a filter or query capability in 3D. 2D, we know is very, very popular, widgets and functionality, right? We are working on that part, so we don't have timeline yet. We know in order to take the 3D app off, make sure it's taking off, we should have a lot of functionality to be there. Filter is one of them. So we are working on that part, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there going to be, you said there were follow-up courses, more in depth. Is there going to be one in terms of customizing what you've got as your base app, or is it all done through custom widgets? So can you take your application and go in and interject your own JavaScript code, and are you covering that here?
Yeah, the sessions that we have, so are you talking about extending the builder itself? Yeah, no, they're mostly talking about extending like widgets and themes from that, yeah. We're not talking about like extending the builder, up front to change, login parameters when the app launches or anything like that.
Or just, custom functionality?
Yeah, no, that'd be interesting, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's something we can think about for next year, I don't know.
What other sessions would you recommend that would follow up to them?
So for this one, I would recommend there's extensibility one. Extending and customizing widgets and themes. Let's bring up a list real quick. Let me bring it up. Blogs.arcgis. So if you go to blogs.arcgis, we actually wrote a blog for the list of sessions for Web App Builder, and there was one already earlier today, I believe. So there's an extensive, I'll find it real quick because I just want to get the right days, the right times. Okay, we're getting close here. Let's see. Oh man, we got knocked to the third page. But there's an advanced version of extending custom themes. Here we go. So there's Web App Builder for deep dive. That was mobile dev. That was earlier today. There's the extending tomorrow, 10:30 to 11:30, right? So creating a custom theme, custom widget. If you're interested in creating themes, 1 to 2 on Wednesday, which is really good. This one's a little more deep. This one right here is more about deploying it into enterprise, right? So what are some considerations of deploying it in an enterprise environment? And then the customizing and extending on Wednesday, I believe, this advanced development tools and techniques, that's an extensive one that goes into further detail about that, using like automatic generators, getting more into like using TypeScript and stuff. And then this is another one for building for production, right? And then here's one if you're focused on imagery, using it in Web App Builder and JavaScript. So here's some sessions that we would recommend to attend.
I want to make a suggestion change. When you said the custom widget in ArcGIS Online, right? I said no. David said through the template you might be able to do that. So basically, you might be able to do that, but the widget the application is still hosted by yourself, it's not hosted by online at all. So just make that clear. That means Esri isn't responsible for your third-party code.
Yeah, so basically, we don't, because if we allow code injection, we got to develop something to always read that, right? So, yeah.
What is the feasibility that the dashboard team would ever support multiple map components? They make their own layout and put multiple images going to a map for that particular team. Will it ever be expanded so it becomes like a configurable application that can carry it out to have like 4 different maps played at once and combine that with the dashboard widgets as well?
You answer that. I don't, she knows that one. I don't know the dashboard one.
That's a very good question. I think for 3D right now, we are not going to enhance that support multiple maps in a one app, right? But it's definitely in the roadmap for 4X API for the next generation of web app builder built on JavaScript API 4X. That is possible. So currently, when you see web app builder in ArcGIS Online, in Portal, or Developer Edition, it's all built on JavaScript API 3X. Today, you see the Jeremy demo a lot of 4X API capabilities, right? So we will move our application to 4X API in the next 1 or 2 years. But basically, we say a lot of people asking the question is, when are we going to move to that direction? So I just want to answer today. At the end of this year, we have a Web App Builder Developer Edition beta version built on JavaScript API so that you guys can try it out, download it and try it out. Basically, we will have a new builder framework with a limited set of widgets so that you can play around JavaScript API 4X against framework. When the whole suite of the widgets will be moved to 4X API, that depends on JavaScript API 4, right? When we talk about that, when 4 has all the capabilities required by Web App Builder, we will move to that direction, probably sometime next year. We don't know the timeline yet, but we are building Developer Edition beta, the next generation of the beta, so that you can play around with it. And then we will incremental releases based on JavaScript API 4X.
Yes.
You know, with custom widgets down in the marketplace, like how much vetting do you guys do? How much really download what I down?
Yeah. You want to answer?
So basically, we have pick up a few pilots business partner to sell their custom widget in marketplace. You have to admin to go there and download. And then when you download, it's basically a zip file, a custom widget zip file. It's download in your local computer. So we don't have a lot, it's basically on the system. Purchase, you pay the credit card, you download in your system. Yeah.
So there's no potential security looking at spam?
I think that's why we only allow business partner to sell a custom widget in the marketplace because the reason. Mm-hmm. And they can upload different versions. So if you move on to the new generation, they will have the same new generation widgets to go with your app. That's why it will enhance our developer edition because sometimes we don't have the resources, right, to build custom widgets, but we can buy or we can download from community as that's convenient to empower our apps, make our GIS analysts more easier to target their task, daily job. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Hope you learned something new. And if you have any questions, feel free to come up. Have a great conference, everyone. Thank you.